Otaki and out in Horowhenua with Tim, the local MP, and we've had a good visit this morning, obviously opening up a new Salvation Army social housing project, and then here visiting one of our leading growers in the region as well. So with that, happy to take your questions.
Prime Minister, can I just ask why you've decided to do an independent review into ACC?
Well, ACC is very expensive. As you've seen, we've had to increase levy charges, but we also want to make sure that ACC and the system is working very effectively and very efficiently. And we've got to make sure that rehabilitation is managed appropriately in a cost-effective way. We want to be able to have an independent review of ACC to make sure that we're doing everything we can, that the system is working to get people the treatments that they need in a cost-effective and highly efficient way. And in the intervening period, as you can see, it's a very expensive system. It's one that New Zealanders rely upon, and we've had to take levies up, as a result of that.
You've talked about it being a tough time for Kiwis, and that we're still battling with a cost of living crisis. Is it the right thing to be hiking ACC levies when there are Kiwis that are doing it tough?
No, I acknowledge it is a tough time. New Zealanders rely on ACC. It's a very expensive system, if you think about, and unlike what you see in many other countries. That is the reality of it, that the costs are greater than, and they need to be passed through. Having said all of that, though, we're unhappy about it. We also want to make sure that the actual management of ACC and the effectiveness and the efficiency of the processing of those claims and the rehabilitative treatment is being really well managed, because if it's not, then it adds cost and that ends up to increasing levies again.
Are you saying that you're not personally confident in the management of ACC?
We just want to do an independent review to make sure if there's anything that we can and should be doing to manage rehabilitation cases better, so that people get the treatment quicker, but also and that we're managing all the appropriate costs so that we're not having to pass everything through on levies.
When did you learn about the incident with the Vietnamese officials of the Vietnamese Prime Minister's?
I learned about it this morning. There was actually two, just in background for those understanding it, there was an independent Vietnamese delegation that came out associated with the police counterparts. They met with the police at the police training college. The Vietnamese Prime Minister's visit was later and independent of this. But obviously Minister of Foreign Affairs, Winston Peters, and police and officials have obviously been doing their investigation, or police have been doing their investigation, and I know they're working with their authorities, the Vietnamese authorities, both police and also Foreign Affairs as well.
Would you support an extradition effort?
And to be honest, it's probably unlikely they would extradite as the practice as I would understand it. Having said that, actually today, even in Vietnam, meeting with their counterparts, we've had officials through Foreign Affairs raising the issue as well to understand what actions will be taken domestically within Vietnam.
Have police taken all appropriate actions here? They wouldn't release the CCTV footage to this woman, although she's entitled to it under the privacy. Is that good enough?
Well, again, I don't know the specifics of the case apart from just the events that happened, and I really want to acknowledge that there were victims in this case. But again, those are issues for the police. They have been undertaking an investigation. Obviously, they're at a stage where they've obviously Vietnamese counterparts and the authorities, and let's see where that gets to, and then we can talk further.
So just to be clear, you weren't informed at the time, and it was separate to the delegation that was here with the Prime Minister, but it happened just before.
Delegation, yeah.
Police knew about it in the interim, and no one kicked it to you as a no surprises ahead of the.
Again, it's quite normal that wouldn't have come through to me at that point in time. Police were investigating through that period. They've obviously completed that investigation and now surfaced, and they are now working with the authorities in Vietnam to see what actions can be taken domestically.
Would you like to know?
Well, I mean, again, there's a police, an incident happened. The police actually do need to do their investigation and actually ascertain what has happened. I wasn't informed, and now police in Vietnam, in conversations with their counterparts, they're ongoing conversations.
Prime Minister, can I just ask you about bowel cancer screening age? Prior to the election, you said that you would like to see it lowered to 45. Is that still your government's commitment?
Yeah, we really would. We've got some big focus priorities in challenged system, and we're putting more money in, as you've seen. We've put more money into cancer drugs. That was a key priority. We've actually got to make sure now that we get clear targets and delivery. We've got to make sure that we get more workforce into the place, and importantly, we've got to get a total overhaul of Health New Zealand, so it's a high-performing organisation. So that is still on our agenda, but right now we've got some bigger priorities we've got to focus on.
There have been 3 regions that offer bowel cancer screening for Marion Pacifica between the ages of 50 to 59. That's Waikato, Tairāwhiti, Mid-Central. Would you like to see that expanded nationwide so that every region has that same?
Well, there's lots of things we'd like to do in health. We want to get better healthcare services in general across the whole of New Zealand. But for right now, what we're focused on is making sure we shorten up wait times in emergency departments for first specialist appointments, for first elective surgeries, getting immunisation rates for under 2-year-olds up, making sure we get faster cancer treatment in place once someone's been diagnosed. And obviously we've got a lot of work to do in primary care as well. So there is a whole raft of pressures in healthcare. There's a lot of things we'd like to do. What we're trying to do is we're putting a record amount of money in. We've put $17 billion extra in over the next 3 years. We've set clear targets. We're making sure we're making progress on the workforce. We've got almost 2,900 extra nurses in the system than what we had a year ago. And we've also got to make sure that we get a very good, high-performing Health New Zealand so we don't waste the money in bureaucracy.
Just to be clear, can I just get a clear commitment? So before the election in 2026, will you lower the bowel cancer screening age to 45?
I can't commit to the timing. I can say that we are working our way through a range of health issues. It's on our agenda at some point, but we also have to be very focused on priorities and work our way through that list.
You promised clearly in the New South Leaders debate that you would lower the bowel screening age to 45 in this term of government. Is this a broken promise?
Well, again, I said we're very up for that, absolutely. But the question is, I just said we've got to work through some priorities. We work through. And that's what we want to do, but we will actually work through at the moment some other priorities because we've got to make sure we've got workforce, we've got to make sure we've got the money working well, we've got to make sure Health New Zealand's functioning correctly. They are higher order priorities for us right now. But what I am proud about is that 175,000 people now have access to something like 52 new new treatments which they didn't have before. Well, no, we are committed to it. It's on our agenda, but we're working through quarter by quarter our priorities, and we signal those each quarter as we say that very transparently what our focus is. And for right now, I'm just saying we'll get there, but our focus is to fix the healthcare system, which doesn't. We've put a lot of money into it. It's got to perform well. It's got to deliver outcomes, and we've got a workforce set of challenges we've got to work our way through too. So we will get there.
What do you make of the iwi Leaders Forum writing to King Charles about your government policies?
Well, they're free to do so.
You're not concerned about?
Sorry?
You're not concerned about them?
No, look, I'm sure many people write to King Charles and I acknowledge, as I've said before, the Treaty Principles Bill, there are strong feelings on both sides of that debate.
You've been uninvited from future meetings with them. Is that a concern?
Well, again, that's a decision for iwi leaders to make. I meet with iwi leaders up and down the country quite regularly, either individually or in small groups, and will continue to do so.
Engagement with the iwi leaders is something really important to, or has previously been important to the National Party.
It is,
yep. Diverting away from that position?
No, not at all. But if they don't want to invite you there, that's their decision ultimately. Invited at this point.
Are you going to try and re-engage then and attend future meetings?
Well, I have. I'm not up to speed as to whether there's a formal invitation that's there or not there, and that's why.
Would you like to go?
Sorry.
You don't know that you haven't invited this.
I'm not aware. I haven't got to that part of my schedule. We'll get to there in due course. At the moment, that's not. We're focusing on closing out the year. Forum, all of that to be worked through.
Winston Peters says that rail-enabled ferries would probably be cheaper in the long run, given the cost of freight. How likely is it that you will get rail-enabled ferries?
Well, what we've got is a great solution. We've got 2 rail-compatible ferries that we are ready to commence with at the end of March. That means that those ferries can arrive here in 2029 when the old ferries actually time out. What we've also said is there's a window between now and the end of March for Winston Peters as new Minister of Rail to look at other options as to whether there's any better solution in place. What we're looking for is a highly, we want good value for money. We want to make sure we've got a resilient, robust service to move people and cargo across the strait. We've got a good option in place, and if we can improve on it between now and the end of March, which is the window we still have before we have to ultimately make a procurement decision and get that process up and running, more power to them. But for right now, we've got a good solution, and if we can improve on it, great. And if not, we move forward with that solution.
Is that misleading them to say that you have secured a solution that blow out in the long run when it comes to those bridging costs?
What I can reassure you is that we will deliver a ferry solution for a lot cheaper than $4 billion.
Will it be half?
3.2 billion was the latest blowout of cost. There was a projection of 4 billion, but it was only costed at 3.2 billion. So will you deliver ferries for less than 3.2?
Less than 3.2, less than 4.
Will it be half? Will it be half of IREX like David Seymour says?
Well, I just say to you, David Seymour is not the Minister for Rail. Because it's commercial, and for Chris Hipkins, who probably hasn't done a commercial deal in his life, I don't take advice from him how to do commercial arrangements. We know how to do that, and we need to keep that sensitive so that we can actually negotiate and actually make sure we're getting a good deal for New Zealanders.
Are you worried then about how much?
Look, again, what I'm focused on is making sure we've got a solution for the New Zealand people. We've delivered that, and we've got a good solution of rail-compatible ferries. That we've got a chance and a window up until the end of March. We've still got time to see whether we can improve. And most importantly, we've got to deliver new ferries ready to go, on time, in full, under budget for 2029.
Will you advise that the total cost of the project will come in over $2 billion?
Again, I'm just know that the total cost of the project will be less than what was deemed under less than 3.2 billion, which is, according to you, the last estimate. I think it was closer to 4, but that's the reality. We're going to do a lot cheaper than that.
Does your funding envelope set what you've set aside in terms of, does that incorporate?
We're interested in the total cost of this project, and some of the conversations I've heard about. But you upgrade ferries without looking at what the port costs are. You don't upgrade ferries without understanding if there's any break costs or any other things associated with the previous project that we need to fund. So we will deliver this project under budget, well under the $3.2 billion the previous administration thought was acceptable. It's not acceptable because that's money that we don't get to spend on roads or hospitals or other schools across the country. Sorry,
on behalf of Colin, why do you think quarter-year plans are important?
Sorry?
Why do you think quarter-year plans are important for the government?
Well, look, we're trying to turn New Zealand around, and when you're doing a turnaround, you've got to be very, very focused on what you're going to do, what you must do versus the nice public service, and we need to focus the new that's tremendous. We've done 160 actions, I think, over the last 12 months. We've got 43 to close out before the 31st of December. All of those actions are designed to do 3 things: rebuild the economy, restore law and order, deliver better health and education. But I'm proud of the way they work because they actually focus our public service and they focus the government. Okay, thanks team, appreciate it.